Good morning. Good morning, folks. 28th of December, probably about a little after 5:30 in the morning, so I'm not too late this morning. I have to tell you that I'm not sure how I'm starting this new year, but I want to emphasize to you that I really do believe that we're headed for some rough stuff. And I'm going to be putting up, well, first of all, welcome to the Dr. Ken Show. I fly by the seat of my pants on this. I try to get a good stream of consciousness going. Every time I tried to prepare a show, it was very boring. I want you to understand that the mission of my show is to help you understand psychology, tell you the truth about it, expose the truth about psychology, and I'd like to save the country, save the world. Isn't that incredible? You know, you can say it's a messianic complex, I guess. I think I've been accused of that before, along with a bunch of other stuff. How can we take this nation back? Well, I'm pretty convinced that the other side, or the deep state, between the left and the deep state, they're going to start the violence up, and we will have a civil war, and we will have to defend ourselves. And I think that's okay, as long as we don't start it. And don't get me wrong, I get angry and I get upset. And I get some pretty strange ideation. I don't like the way my thoughts go. I get that angry. And quite often I think, my God, what's the average person thinking? If I'm going through this, and I do get a reflection, I think, at times, as to what's going on. And a lot of people claim they're ready for the shooting. They're ready for the fighting. They aren't even ready for the truth. That's what gets me. Most people are so narcissistic. They love themselves so damn much that they won't open their minds up. They won't get some flexibility. You see, one of the signs of getting older is you get inflexible. You become unable to move about. Your back binds up, your body binds up. You just don't have the flexibility. You can't stretch your muscles like you used to. You know, that happens to us all physically, and it happens mentally too. And when you can no longer think outside the box, you've gotten rigid in your thinking. So you need to open up your thinking. So with that in mind, I invite you to tune in to my other channel. Doesn't have as many people watching it. Doesn't have as many subscribers. It's about half. But it's called Awakening Israel. And in that we focus upon the Bible. And I only have one Bible for sale, and I guess I'm responsible for this particular format. This large print format that I have here. This is beautiful. This is wonderful. Okay, pretty big print. You can read that pretty easy. Psalms. And I really have not liked this particular book very much, but Psalms is right in the middle of the Bible. It's the longest book of the Bible. It's right in the halfway point of the pages, right there. This particular book is called the Proper Name Version of the King James Bible. Proper Name Version of the King James Bible. I sometimes put the article "the" in front of it. I shouldn't be doing that, though. The PNVKJB. The PNV of the KGB. KGB. Man, am I slipping this morning. KGB. KJB. Okay, well, at least I'm catching myself and I'm waking up and I'm laughing at myself, which is a good sign. My mother told me if you can't laugh at yourself, well, I can't remember the rest of the saying, But she told me that I needed to be able to laugh at myself. I guess I was too serious as a child. I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know why things were the way they were in the world. It didn't make much sense to me. The adults were nuts. I mean, the world was pretty crazy. But just imagine growing up today, how much crazier it is. I mean, we didn't have child grooming. There were sex offenders, there were child molesters. Heck, I had a friend, and she grew up in one of the villages in Alaska. She was brilliant. And so she was a native, and she came from the villages, and she said they all knew who the child molester was, and they played with them. They played games with them. They had a great time. I guess they ran around and teased him and had him chasing them. Kind of craziness to me, but that's the way it was. I wish I was in touch with her. I hope she's okay. I haven't heard from Arla in decades. I actually finished my doctorate, and that was about the last time I heard from her. I don't think she was very well at the time. She was so intelligent, so brilliant, and she helped me in many ways. She was very intelligent. She married a fellow who became an ambassador to Iran. Matter of fact, I think they were there in 1976. I think the year was. I think they were there, and they escaped it. Wow, talk about having a life with some wild stuff in it. Imagine being married to the ambassador as the Ayatollah was coming to power in Iran. You need to understand a few things about Iran. Iran pretty much exists in place of Persia. The Persians were a different type of people, and the Persian men that I met in graduate school were so culturally different that, and they had no embarrassment for their culture at all. They claimed they were more sensitive, and they, I would have to say, compared to us, they indulged in their emotions more. They were extremely emotional men. They cried quite a bit. I mean, they had stronger emotions, maybe more emotions. I think the most amazing thing about American men is that we deny our emotions. We're not very in touch with them. We lack the ability to label our emotions. It's just kind of standard issue for men. At least that's the way it used to be when I was growing up. And women had better language facilities, of course. Females come out and do better with language. Their left hemispheres develop quicker than our left hemispheres. You know, testosterone actually inhibits the development of the left hemisphere. And so women, females, have an advantage over males because the left hemisphere for analytics and language develops faster in them. Forgot about that. I haven't thought about that in decades, probably. I don't want your money. I am thinking about putting commercials and monetizing this channel. One of my friends subscribes, says she loves the fact that there's no commercials on this channel, but I think I'm going to go ahead and monetize this channel. And give me some feedback. If you don't want commercials, let me know. And the other channel, I think I'm just going to go about and not monetize it. I have met some people who have got some kind of, some sort of things against making money off Yahweh, what one fellow said. He had a book. We're trying to get him to publish his book. He was struggling to support his family, trying to motivate him, and he didn't want to do it once we said that the co-author the prospective co-author that was going to bring this work of his to fruition, he didn't want royalties. He didn't think it was proper. Anyway, this is the only thing I have for sale. It's not just this. There's five formats total, and it's a good Bible. This is the best Bible since the King James Bible in 1611. This is the King James Bible. It's in modern English. Very much up to date. It's far more accurately translated. You can put them side by side and compare them and see some subtle differences, but yet they're differences. We miss some of the cute phrases that were in the old King James, the old English. We miss the these and the thous, which is fine. This reads a lot more straight ahead. One thing I can tell you is that it's subject to far less conjecture on our parts. This is so much clearer that the assumptions that we make reading the King James, well, we can't make them anymore. So if you're used to the King James, you might want to stick with it. But if you want to get into the modern English, this is the one you want. However, there's one thing in particular about this Bible that I think sells it, hands down. This is the reason you want to buy it. It has the proper names of God and the Messiah in it. It uses the term Christ very sparingly in comparison to the what passes for the Bible in modern English at 1611 King James. That they use the name Jesus throughout it, which is not his name. It was not his name. Not even a variant was his name. His real name was Yahshua, which means he who saves the anointed. You see, there's saving in the meaning of his name even. The name Jesus, there's none of that. They threw the name Jesus in there to throw us off a little bit, in my honest opinion. Now, in the name of God, this is a big deal. We have Yahweh. That's the anglicized version of YHVH. You know, in the Paleo Hebrew, there were no vowels. Those were added later. And so YHVH was known as the Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name. And it was said that we lost that. Now, I went to Bible college for one semester. I didn't do very well. They pretty much run me off on there, and I think they might have failed me in one class or gave me a C or something. I know that I was knocked in one of the classes on my grades. I don't think the Spirit was really in that building much at all. Anyway, if you want to abide by the First Amendment, which is to have no gods before this one, you might as well know his name. I think it helps. And I will use the term Yahweh more than God, or sometimes Creator, Father, God. Creator, Father, Yahweh, Creator, Father, God, Yahweh. I will interchange, I will sometimes say Yahshua, the Christ, Yahshua, the Messiah. The first part of the two vowels of the word, the two syllables of the word, rather, not vowels, but the two syllables, were Y, H, VH, YH on both of them. Yah for both of them. Yah is the same as Yah in the German language, except in the German language we actually put a J in front of it. There was no J for quite a while, particularly in the English language. I don't know when it developed in the German language. The German language is 1/3 of it comes from Hebrew. German means genuine. Your world wars were fought against the genuine people, against the tribe of Judah, for a reason. That was so that the evil ones could pull off the biggest identity theft in history, which they have been successful, and which they continue to reign supreme over the whole land. The evil ones are not Jews. It's a subset of the Jews. I have to be very clear about that. The evil ones are descendants of Cain. If you read the Bible, Cain murdered his half-brother Abel. They were half-brothers. They had the same mother, Eve. They had different fathers. Gadriel seduced Eve. From what we can tell from reading the Bible, he seduced Eve and fathered Cain. Adam fathered Abel, Abel. And Cain murdered his half-brother Abel. Very dysfunctional family. There are only 2 warring functions on the face of the earth. Well, there's a whole bunch of them going on in Europe. There's going to be a lot of wars going on. And if you want to know what's going to be happening in Europe, I'm going to check with my buddy in South Africa first, and I'm going to get his opinion. But I'm likely to put up a PDF as a page on my blog. That's givingpsychologyaway.com. You go to my blog, there'll be several resources on the first page, several tabs, they're called pages. They're not posts. The posts are in the body of the blog that opens up and goes back in time, back in history. It's fully searchable. There are 2 old blogs still archived and up. I don't attend to those. I don't manage those. You can search through those and find some incredible things. For instance, if you want to know the risk, the percentage increase in risk that abortion causes breast cancer, then go to the old blogs. You will find my article in there in which I give you the statistics, and I cite the physician in India who came up with this. And I want you to understand that it is not merely correlated, it's causal. So abortion causes breast cancer. If you're going to kill your baby, nature's going to kill you. Understand that. That was built into the species. Now, I think we can fix that. I think the way to fix that, once you've had an abortion, is to have a child a full term and nurse the child. Get your breast and your body functioning normally, and then it won't try to destroy itself and try to kill you. I think God really made these bodies very incredibly. That was one of the things that was built in, a self-correction mechanism. All right? It's not natural to go around killing your baby in your womb. It is actually, in my opinion, it's murder. Men do not have rights today. You may think we do. I challenge you. Where in the Constitution do men have the right to vote? Men don't have the right to vote. Only women have the right to vote. Realize that. It's in the amendment. You see, it was supposed to be a state thing only. But women decided they wanted to do it on a national basis. And what you ladies did, and my grandmother marched for that. She was a suffragette. She marched for women's rights to vote. What you did is you federalized the election and gave this central federal communist government, this beast system, more power. You enabled it. By the way, you also brought us, let's get to it. You also brought us temperance. Your miserable temperance, which banned us from alcohol. Now you may think, well, that's a good thing. Alcohol's pretty bad, right? Well, yes and no. The problem is when you did that, you actually helped the criminal element in the country. You helped them to organize better and come up with bootlegging, running alcohol into the country. So you gave them a market in which there was very little competition, certainly not legal competition. And so we ended up becoming a nation of criminals because of you ladies thinking you're going to stop the men from drinking. The temperance movement. You were pretty violent and vicious about that. As a result, we ended up with bootlegging. And then as a result of that, we got organized crime. And then as a result of that, we got the most mother of organized crime. They gave us the FBI because bootleggers were crossing state lines. That was one of the excuses. The FBI started as, I believe, as part of the Treasury Department. It certainly is under the Department of Justice today, which is no justice at all. But you ladies, you brought it and you gave it to us. Now we did get rid of that stupid amendment that turned us into a dry nation. When we were founded, the beer that was made, the beer that was drank was pretty low alcohol content. And men drank that rather than drink the milk. It kept better. It kept easier. But you ladies decided that you were going to, since you had the votes, you were going to shove it down our throats. And they gave it to us. They catered to you when they should not have. And it resulted in a horrible social experiment. Now, if you want a social experiment, then do it in your state. Or do it locally in your county. But don't do it at a federal level. You're not allowed to do that by the Constitution. And that women's right to vote should go by the wayside at the national level. The amendment needs to go away. It needs to be a state matter. And the state can do as it sees fit. For all I care, you can have a state and say only women can vote in it. Okay? Fine. You can have a state in which says only married men can vote in it. Or only married men above the age of 25. Or maybe it should be only parents can vote in it. And only if you have children and have a vested interest in the future of the nation should you be able to vote. Or maybe it should be as it was in some states. You're landed, you own property, or you pay some sort of tax. You need representation. We need to have independence at the state level. And by getting rid of this abortion amendment that forced us all to accept this horrible law, and by the way, they had to get rid of it. You understand why they had to get rid of Roe versus Wade? Because the precedence of Roe versus Wade was going to be used against the police state. It was built upon a right to privacy. And I'm speechless now because I want to say maybe it should have stood. It should still stand because we don't have a right to privacy. Federalized. We live in a police state. It's formally and legally a police state. You jackasses, you dumbasses out there gave it to us because your security is more important than your what? It's certainly not more important than my privacy. Oh, and by the way, if your security is so important, why didn't they investigate 9/11 fully and prosecute it fully? Why did we go to war over false premises? Why did we murder 1 million Iraqis? For what? They didn't do a damn thing to us. Why did we go into Afghanistan? The quagmire of quagmires. We laughed when the Russians got bogged down in that little place. It's a weird country. They've got really weird traditions there. You ought to leave them alone because you really can't centralize that weird stuff they have going on there. One of my buddies traveled the world right after graduating and came back and talked to us about it and how wonderful it was in Afghanistan because the hospitality was so good. He was a gay dude. He had a really good time over there. Look, there are places that we should leave alone. We don't need to bring them up to our standards. They don't want our standards. My God, during the Gulf War, we beamed in, who was that singer? And she was half naked all the time or real close to being fully naked. We did that as a goodwill gesture. How stupid was that? Psychological warfare to accomplish what? What dumbass decided we're going to put Britney Spears into the homes over there to culturally enrich them? It was offensive to them. It was disturbing their families. The women sure didn't appreciate it. Leave these people alone. If you really respect diversity, then let them be the way they want to be. And stop trying to water us down here, too. Let us be the way we want to be. And right now, the invasion's coming full force. The Transformers are being attacked across the country. And by the way, before I forget it, my uncle had an idea, and I told him if he didn't mind, I was going to mention it on the show. Shield the electrical transformers. I mean, they're using 30 caliber bullets, which are widespread. There's more 30 calibers out there. Well, there's more 22 caliber than anything else. But 30 calibers are really popular around. There's so many cartridges in 30 caliber, it's not funny. And if you don't have one, fellas, you ought to get one. I'd recommend a 308. It's a very universal cartridge. The advantages of a 308 are wonderful level of ammunition, extremely versatile, extremely accurate cartridge. And not only that, it has about the longest barrel life possible. It was adopted because they wanted to standardize ammunition across all these countries. They wanted to be able to interchange ammunition and the gun parts. They wanted universal support so they could fight on any continent with 308 ammunition or 7.62 by whatever it is, 49, whatever it is. They're fairly interchangeable. The 308 is superior. It's got a little bit more pressure, a lot more pressure actually. And it's got a lot more range, a lot more accuracy. But if you need to be in a battle with quicker fighting, the doggone military standard actually will load faster and is more reliable, especially in the dirt and in bad weather. But the weapon that was built for war was not a semi-automatic AR-15. The weapon that was built for war was a bolt-action rifle that was made for war in particular. And you say there shouldn't be any weapons of war, and you want to leave the bolt-action rifles out there. Well, I'll tell you one thing, you're not getting mine. You'll get the hot end for sure. All red-blooded American males need to be saying the same thing. And what do? As a friend of mine says, what do you do if the police are raiding your neighbor's house to take his guns away? What do? He told me this more than a decade ago. Real smart guy. He ran for governor in one of the states one time. Oh, I know which one it was. It was Arizona. And he said, you get your gun out and you open up fire from the backside and you protect those guys. It's going to come to that. How do I know it's going to come to that? Because that's what happened in South Africa. The police opened up fire on the good men in South Africa, and they were very dismayed about it. They had to carry sidearms, and they had to use sidearms, and that's coming to America. Think I'm kidding? Murder rate's up 30% already. Why is that? Look who's in power. Look at where the murder rate's up. It's all Democrat, or should I say Chi-Com, Democrat controlled. The Chi-Com Democratic Party. And there's a lot of Chi-Com rhinos out there too. You have a Chi-Com agent in the White House. Do you not? Look, folks, I'm going to be putting up the visions of the prophet from South Africa. And I want you to take advantage of it. I read them on Christmas Day. I do not like this particular collection because it does not contain the prophecies specific to America that I heard were attributed to him. And I've been trying to get it. English was not his native language, so I'm going to make an appeal, and I'm pretty sure I'll get something, and I'll be able to put up the prophecies specific to America, and you're not going to like it. And you're not going to like the prophecies specific to America in this series that I've already started to share with people. Why aren't you going to like it? Well, by his prophecies, America goes down. Now, you've got to remember that everything is in flux on this planet. That everything is changing and shifting, and it can change. I think the fate of this nation can change. That's why I sell this Bible. I believe if I can turn this nation into 5% Bible readers, I think we got it made. I think we turn this country around. Why the Bible? It's the basis for all Western civilization. And Western civilization is primarily America is under attack. That war that's going on in the Ukraine is not to take the Ukraine out. They're not the target. We are the target. You and I, we are the target. Get that through your thick skulls. They're doing it to go after us. The bankers are putting this on. They host all of these wars. They plan them way in advance. Now, the founder of this nation, and I got some buddies who tell me he actually was the third president, not the first. Okay. Give me the book. I'd love to have that book and read that. First president that we recognize, George Washington, had a series of visions. I believe those that occurred at Valley Forge. It was the low point of his life. I'm sure he was extremely depressed. A lot of his men were walking in the snow, barefoot, rags. A lot of them didn't have any ammunition for their guns. A lot of them didn't even have guns at the time. I guess a lot of them bled as they walked, blood from their feet. The angel visited George Washington 3 times. At least 3 times, 3 nights. And he would visit and begin, Son of the Revolution, arise, or look, behold, and he would give him visions. And George Washington, in the series of visions, as I remember it was told to me more than a decade ago, the first vision, a black cloud rose off above the African continent. Whoop, off the continent. So, just from the report, we can figure out that angel took George Washington up above the earth to what one of the prophets we call described as the third heaven. So he's up above the earth looking down at the earth. And in the dream, black cloud comes up over Africa. Drifts over the Atlantic Ocean. Over North America, settles down to the ground. And we fight in a black cloud. His vision of the Civil War. The angel visited him several more times, showed him visions of the First World War. And visions of the Second World War. And finally, visions of the Third World War. So it's coming. Wake up. And in the Third World War, he saw red clouds arising up off from every continent in the world. And they all drifted over North America. And they all settled on North America. And we fight once again in that red cloud. That's coming. In George Washington's visions, he was told we were going to prevail and we would not be bothered after that. In the South African prophet's visions, we don't do very well afterwards. We are attacked from the outside, which is what these Chicom Democrats want. They want to destroy us. The devil and the devil's children occupy, own, run America today. Their purpose is to get us nuked. Their purpose is to get us destroyed. You'll say, why would anyone want to do that? Look, folks, they are evil through and through. They were born that way and they can't help themselves. It's their fate to do this and pull this off. And in case you're wondering, they've put together all of these wars that we've been through. They've planned them well in advance. And right now there's going to be a series of wars in Europe, not just one. There's going to be a series of alignment, misalignment, realignment. They're going to align in so many different ways. It's going to happen real fast. That's my opinion. What's yours? You can put it down in the comments. Look, folks, do like my videos, subscribe, share them on social media, get the word out. We are being suckered. Mitch McConnell is one of the biggest treasonous, traitorous rat bastards we've ever had. Almost all those in Washington, D.C. are treasonous, traitorous rat bastards. What was his name? Paul the Rat Ryan. I don't trust them very well. And you need to stop putting your faith in any man. You need to put it in Yahweh, Creator, Father, God. And by the way, this is your weapon system. This is how you sharpen your mind so that you will not be deceived. And this is how you make it through. The guns are just hardware, just tools. They're nothing compared to understanding who your enemy is. And you don't know who your enemy is. It tells us in the Bible right from the get-go. The whole book is about the fight between good and evil. When Joshua went into the promised land to conquer it, Yahweh gave him orders, specific orders on specific villages and peoples. And he basically said, kill them all on some of them. And you're going to tell me, oh, he was a mean God. He was vicious. He's violent. Jesus would never do that. My God would never do that. He ordered the deaths with good purpose and good reason. And Joshua failed. And as a result, those evil ones out of the land of Canaan were scattered out of the promised land, out of the Mideast, throughout the planet. And we're dealing with them today, their offspring today. Okay? Joshua screwed up. It's in the Bible. A lot of good war stories in that book of Joshua. Go read it. And there was an excellent reason to kill each one of those populations off. There was something wrong with them. Creator, Father, God, Yahweh worked with them for at least 4 centuries, trying to get them to stop doing the stuff they were doing. They were sacrificing children. They were doing all kinds of horrible practices. It wasn't just simple sodomy. Although there was that. Sodom was named after it. It was their claim to fame, if you will. And of course, the evil ones are doing their best to turn this into a land of sodomites as well. This is Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. And in case you're wondering, we can get rid of that. We can, and we should. If my vision's hold true, we're going to get rid of it really directly. I'm sorry, folks. For those folks of you out there who think you are gay, happy, and have pride and all that stuff. But you have taken stands against the family, and you are going on our children. You're going after our children. And that can't be tolerated. And those of you out there who think that, oh, you can't be calling us all pedophiles and all this shit or that shit, look, your true nature's coming up. You want them protected as, what is it? Child? Mature? Something about attracted to children? Attracted to minor attracted persons. That's it. MAP. Minor attracted persons. And you got your Confederates in the schools grooming the children. You've got your Confederates setting up the damn textbooks. They've been doing it for decades. Most of that shit come out of Texas too, by the way. You Texans ought to be real proud of yourself over there. You don't impress me much. Alaska's a hell of a lot bigger than you are. I'll take it any day over you jackasses down in Texas. That little tiny state. You got the biggest state government almost the worst state government in the world. You got some weird stuff going on down there, especially in Houston, where murder is pretty much legal. Yeah. Get this book. It helps me out. I want to raise some money. I want to sell 1 million Bibles. Now you've got 3 different versions of the large print format. And you've got black cover leatherette, brown cover leatherette, no tabs. Then you've got one that's got tabs. It's $5 more. If you're a beginner, get the tab Bible. Don't cheat yourself. Don't worry. They were upset with me because I put tabs in my NIV study Bible in Bible college. They considered it cheating. Well, I mean, anyway, get the tab version. Get the large print. It's easy to read, makes a great family Bible. It's pretty impressive. 14-point print. And then you've got the other leatherette copy Bibles, and those are black and brown, and they're slightly smaller print than these. They're not as big as this. And you might like that better. I don't know. If your eyes are real good and you're young, go get that. It's a little bit cheaper. Prices are pretty stable from what I can see. I think they went up from what I remember and what I can tell. We also are going to have more of these available to us. In spite of that war that's going on over there, we get these printed up in beautiful Russia, Belarus. There's a reason they were called that, by the way. And in case you're wondering, that battle that's going on over there, that territory and the people and the banners and all that, that's from the old times. If you want to know what it's from, go to my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com, and then you will see a page there saying World History in One Picture. Pull that up and look at it, and you will see the 3 symbols. You'll see the symbol for Khazaria on the one side, on the right side, and on the left side as you face this thing in this picture is the symbol for the Ukraine. And then in the middle is the symbol for Moloch or Baal. This stuff couldn't come out of a more centralized country. You see, most of the Jews that are the small minority that hides among the Jews, hides behind the Jews and uses the Jews. And by the way, that group of Jews went after the good Jews in Germany during World War II. The bad Jews went after the good Jews. The bad Jews were the ones that manned the concentration camps and did the killing. And the bad Jews manned the gulags in Russia and did the killing there too. It's a subset. The Bible says clearly in Revelations, I know you who say you are Jews and are not. Okay? It's not all the Jews, but it's a subset. So don't thinking that you can just go and take care of it all in one fell swoop. Although I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people tried to do that. And in case you're wondering, the genocide that the Jews claim didn't exist, not a single one of the world leaders wrote about that in their memoirs. Not a single mention. And by the way, the fellow that pointed that out to me was Jewish, of Jewish descent anyway. He's also the one that pointed out that Israel, the Mossad, did 9/11. Not the damn Muslims. They didn't do it. And I met a guy who was a contractor for the CIA. He told me it was inside job and outside job. It was part inside, part outside. He was in very big distress. I made sure not to learn where he lived and remember his name or any of that shit. I mean, I knew he was saying stuff, telling me stuff he shouldn't be telling me. But he told me the truth. He had lost his wife, basically. His girlfriend, his partner in life. He'd lost her. They were mercenaries, basically. She was a mercenary. She was the bodyguard for a crown prince in the Middle East. She died doing her job. 4 bad guys attacked. She killed them all, but she died saving the prince's children. That's what her job was. She threw her body on the concussion grenade and took the full force of it. And this man was distraught because he had just watched the video, the security video of her doing her job. And he was very proud of her, but he was disabled at the time. He had a medical problem. He was not an old man. He was younger than I. Told me his MOS and all that. People open up to me. I've really met some incredible people, some incredible men. There's incredible women out there too. The CIA agent who had charge of both, Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein, I mean, they put her in prison under the Patriot Act for a while because she was trying to actually avoid the war. We didn't have to go to war at all. I mean, if we had been smart enough to listen to her, but the bankers insisted upon it, the Bush family insisted upon it. We didn't have to do that. We murdered a bunch of people. We are the beast system today. We've become that. We didn't start off that way. And we, again, were prophesied in this book. I know the big box churches on the corners, those pastors will tell you, oh, the United States of America is not in the Bible. It's right in here in the book of Genesis. We are the great nation that was foretold by Israel the man about his adopted son, Manasseh, who was actually his grandson, Joseph's son, out of Egypt. We are the great nation, foretold back in Genesis. We are in this Bible. We're also Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 in this Bible. And we get nuked in this Bible. So, if you're listening to my channel, you're one of the few that are awoke. Can't use that word, awoke, I guess. Awaken, whatever. My other channel is Awakening Israel. You want to get into the Bible? I will read it to you. I will explain to you. I will think out loud for you. I will share you my thoughts, as sloppy as they get, as miserable as they get, and as creative and off the wall as they get. I want you to understand how to read this thing and how to think for yourself. I don't want you walking in and somebody parroting some magical potion spell for you that you think is going to fix everything. These guys preach lies. And as a matter of fact, that's in here too. In Isaiah primarily. He talks about the pastors. There weren't any pastors when Isaiah was around. They were priests. But he wrote about pastors and how they lied and how they drank beer and how everybody liked them to talk smooth talk. They didn't want to hear the prophet's truth. They wanted to hear smooth talk. So go to your churches, feel good about yourselves. Go to your churches, stay asleep. Go to your churches and enlarge the gates of hell, because that's exactly what you're doing. You need to read this book and get educated. I didn't consider myself educated, even with 5 formal college degrees and as much in informal training, if not more. And all the stuff that I read, I failed to read this. I know it's big. I know it takes time. Push your way through it. You get a boring passage on genealogies, just glance through it maybe. Push your way through it, or skip it entirely. There's plenty of other stuff to read in here. Believe me, it'll take you a while to read through this whole thing. I read through it in about 18 months. A lot of people brag about doing it in a year, but I'll tell you right now, they don't understand it very well. Not that you can't understand it. I was impaired, drastically impaired, by the time I sat on my ass and read this book. I had had 2 strokes. I had been humbled. I really was not able to work as a psychologist anymore. I wasn't able to tell a story back accurately. And when I looked at the guy, the other psychologist tested me, I looked at him and says, if I can't tell a story back, I can't conduct therapy. He just looked at me, didn't say a word. He knew that I was coming to my senses and realizing that I wasn't safe to practice. So I took myself out of it, and I retired. My board was a bunch of jackasses, too. The boards are all staffed with liberals. The field of psychology has done the most to destroy this nation out of all the fields. However, I think medical is really surpassing us by a long shot right now. And the attorneys, well, the attorneys, need I say more? All the professions are turned against the laity. Abraham Lincoln said that. Abraham Lincoln was good for a few sayings, good for a few things, good for some tall stories. But you need to understand that he was not honest. They gave him that nickname for a reason, and it wasn't because he was an honest man. He didn't belong in the president's office, and he knew it, because the original 13th Amendment made it illegal for him, as a member of the Bar Association, to hold the office of president. And he overrode the original 13th Amendment to hide his crime. He overrode it with the Anti-Slavery Amendment. The 13th Amendment is the law of the land. We got screwed up on that one, too. I advocate for reclaiming the law of the land. Put the attorneys in their place. Separation of powers is important. If you want this nation back, that's the biggest thing you can do. That's the most strategic move you could make right now. I don't know if they'll let you do it. I mean, I just don't think they will. But if we could, if I was president, the first thing I would do would be to declare the 13th Amendment the law of the land. And then I'd knock out the rest. No, we're not going to legalize slavery. But we've enslaved everybody with the 14th Amendment. And with the money magic, the black magic of their phony money, we've enslaved everyone. And with our corporations and with our laws, especially our standardization and interstate commerce code, which began in 1952. That's what you and I live under today. That's what we are ruled under. We don't have any rights. They've taken them away. Yes, this government is huge. And you people out there who think the government should do more and should do everything, you're asking for trouble. And right now, you can't even shut them down. You cannot shut down anything in this government. You cannot reclaim it. You can't get control of the Senate. It's not a constitutional Senate anyway. And because of that, because the senators are elected directly, the state governments are no longer represented. Therefore, the republic is done. So you want the republic back? You get rid of the 17th Amendment. But you want to get rid of the 17th Amendment? You start with going after the 13th, and you get rid of all legal precedent built on those other subsequent amendments. As far as ladies go and your right to vote, well, it needs to go away. I mean, you could be in a state and you could advocate in your state, just for the people in your state, mind you, that you have to be married to vote. That would be fine. Or you could advocate that you had to be anything. You can do it the way you want to do it in the state. Maybe you have to be a landowner paying taxes. Maybe you have to be a business owner. I don't know. I mean, there's different ways that they did it back then. And we need to go back to that. Maybe it should be in some states that only men vote because we're required to serve in the militia. Why not? Our lives are on the line. Maybe states should say, let's have a militia. You ladies want to vote? Join the militia. You ladies shoot better than I do anyway. I mean, my God, every woman I ever took out shooting one of my handguns outshot me. Yeah, that's right, men. You be careful because they shoot pistols better than we do. They have better hand-eye coordination and they hit what they shoot at. And of course, the rifle of all for women is the AR-15. You take a woman out shooting, let her shoot, a 30-06 or 308, let her shoot handguns, let her shoot shotguns, let her shoot AR-15 with that spring coil in the doggone stack, that buffer reducer. And she'll choose the AR-15 every time because she can hit with it. It's not that violent to shoot. And she can hit with it and have a good time with it. And she's got plenty of rounds there to do some damage with. So I don't have a very good title for this particular show right now. If you got a title for it, go ahead and label it in the comments for me. I could use some help. Help could come in many forms. Buy my Bible. I'm not asking for donations. If you think I should go ahead and monetize the show, it's going to make it longer. It's going to make it probably get more scrutiny as well. The beast system is going to be making money off it. Oh yes, big tech is all major parts of the beast system. And if you want to know about the beast system, it's in the Bible. Book of Daniel gives us quite a bit. And I'm working on a project in which we're going to end up getting the apocryphal books as well. And prophecies in the beast system continue in Esdras, 1 Esdras, 2 Esdras, incredible prophecies. Okay, I haven't told you, who we are, who you are, and why you're targeted. You are being targeted because you're the sons of Adam. And the sons of Cain are the ones going after us. You can't separate us out very easily. We look alike. Sorry to be racist about it, You want to accuse me of being racist? Fine. I think survival is kind of important. And as far as whatever race you are watching this thing, don't you think your survival is kind of important? Don't you like your identity? Do you know who you are? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the bad guys know who they are. And they know who we are. And we're the dumbasses that are at a very, very major disadvantage. They pulled off the biggest identity theft during the last century. They also murdered about 100 million Christians in the last century. They murdered at least 66 million Russians alone. They genocided the Ukraine, 10 million people. Not once, but twice. So 20 million Ukrainians. They genocided the Armenians, 2 million of them. And by the way, when you look at the pictures, it was brutal. Miles of road across the country, dirt road, miles of it. Hills up and down. Crosses beside the roads. Beautiful women with long hair hanging naked. Young women from those crosses. Real major genocide. They love to go after the women. By the way, during our Revolutionary War, the king, who got the Indians up in Canada in particular after us, he gave a triple bounty on long blonde hair. Okay? He was targeting our women. And on long red hair and long brown hair, it was a double bounty. And then for short scalps, men's scalps, it was a regular bounty. Part of the history that you probably don't know about. The fellow who told me that he's been dead for quite a while. He taught me another lesson too, and that was our Revolutionary War was not an act of rebellion. It was an act of self-defense. God does not bless rebellion. That's why I'm not going to tell you to rebel against your masters in this country today. But I'm telling you, the only way to do it is to pick this up and read it, to talk to one another, share my show. Get these ideas out, especially about the original 13th Amendment and honest money. Get those ideas out there. And let's get our republic back, slowly but surely. Turn to Creator Father God Yahweh. Abide by the 10 Commandments. May Yahweh bless America. And may we recover our republic. You better arm up. Maybe we can avoid even firing a shot. I can't promise you about that. But I can promise that some of us are going to end up having to do some shooting. I'm trained not to aim my gun at anybody. Just don't want to do it. You know, I don't even like hunting all that much these days. As you get older, it's like you want to kill things a lot less for some reason, you know? Which makes sense because we realize that we're mortal and you just don't want to kill for sport anymore. As a matter of fact, even killing for food gets to be a bit of a pain, especially when you got a cripple. Breaks a man's heart to have to deal with a cripple. Yahweh bless America. Thanks for hanging out this long with me.